Hello, I was born in Salinas. I graduated from North Salinas High School. I live in Salinas with my husband and 2 children. And as Robbie has mentioned, my books are Graffiti Girl and Invisible Touch, and those are for young adults. And I have written other short stories as well as Criminal Instinct 4, and that's a suspense. What I wanted to say was, actually I wasn't an avid reader during my childhood. I've always been a creative person. I wrote poems and short fiction because it was a way to express myself. I was a child artist all through, growing up in high school. And I was more like, I was in love with movies. And books, unfortunately, when I was younger, they didn't hold my interest. And what I know now is what I was a reluctant reader. And I meet a lot of reluctant readers when I meet with people at organizations, and I work with children. So a lot of them, it's hard to get them to read a book. So in my early 20s, I began to read avidly. And I discovered something about fiction that I hadn't realized. Fiction could make me envision a movie inside my head. Fiction could take me to another world. It could make me feel emotions, and it could be entertaining. I learned that it was just about finding the right authors' voices that appealed to me. I learned that some authors' storytelling I wouldn't fall in love with, and some I would. And I learned that I love to read commercial fiction, fast-paced and with suspense. And that's kind of the stories I like to write. I wanted to write books that I didn't have as a teenager. Maybe if I had a book about a girl who wanted to learn graffiti art, because at the time I was an artist in high school, and I would have been reading more in high school instead of what my English teacher told me, which is very funny because one of my English teachers is here, but really we were assigned to read classics, and where I can appreciate them now, at the time when I was a kid, it was really hard to relate to those classics. Since I've been writing for teens, it's been amazing to have teens and young adults come to me and say, your book was the first book that I ever finished. And even some college students, because I've done some talks at CSUMB, and they told me this, and you would think, wow, you're in college, but they just, they would do the assignments and they would read what they had to, but they would not read the complete novel. So that's really it's humbled me, and it's honored me that I could write a book that they really enjoyed. So many things do inspire me, and readers who enjoy my stories inspire me. I receive a lot of the inspiration from the world around me. It could be a headline in the news, or simply someone or something I see around town. It could be a topic I find interesting, or something I feel deeply about. Because I'm a creative person, types of arts inspire me. Paintings, photography, sculptures, murals, urban art, graphic design, and music. Music inspires me a lot. Since I've lived in Salinas most of my life, Salinas inspires my settings within my contemporary young adult novels, Graffiti Girl and Invisible Touch. For example, I don't write about North High. I don't say it's North High, but I base my fictional high schools on North High. My favorite art class was in the first chapter of Graffiti Girl, and I had the school mascot as a Viking. I talk about my economics teacher. He used to throw us candy bars during study sessions, and I added that in Invisible Touch. I mentioned the smell of our agricultural fields because everybody knows who lives here. We can smell them on hot summer days. And I mentioned our tall eucalyptus trees that we drive by. I've done Like I said, I've done a few book club discussions, and the students enjoy pointing out the similarities with Salinas culture that I put in Graffiti Girl and Invisible Touch. So really, Salinas inspires my writing. My children growing up and the stories and the challenges that they faces inspire my storylines. If you're a writer, look around you and write what you know. Write what makes you feel comfortable, and write what makes you feel interested. Because chances are your writing will interest someone too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly. It was great to hear how you included so much of Salinas in the local areas. It's really refreshing. Okay, next we have Jenny Shen. And Jenny publishes by the pen name Chui Xin. How is that? Good? Okay. We worked on that before this. Which means Emerald Cottage in Chinese. Ms. Shen has been living on a farm with her husband in Hollister, east of Gilroy, for almost 20 years now. Having written 9 books about her farm life, Jenny likes to work with dirt as well as children. Sometimes I feel like it's the same. For whom some of her books are written specifically. Living on a farm where wild animals are frequent visitors, Jenny grows roses, fruit trees, vegetables, and flowers, as well as raises chickens, ducks, goats, peacocks, geese, and pheasants. There are many interesting things happening every day that inspire Ms. Shen to write what she calls farm fairy tales. She enjoys taking pictures of farm life and says, quote, "With that, my spirit is inspired." Jenny?
Hi. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to come here to meet you. Thank you to Lisa for inviting me here to this event. I just like Robbie said, I live on the farm for almost 20 years. All the things happening on the farm inspired me to write everything about. I wrote everything, and I took pictures and write poems for my farm. This is just show you some pictures. Skunks. They spray the. Have you ever seen their spray? Yellow mist. Yeah, it's yellow, and it's stinky and unwashable. It takes at least 1 day to fade away. So that's the way it survives. Everybody was scared of it. And this is the next. This is a baby opossum. Visit our farm at night. And opossum is very good at pretending. One morning, my husband and my dog patrolling the farm, and they encounter an opossum. My dog killed it right on spot, and my husband wouldn't take care of it right away. They just leave it there. By the time my husband came back, he has long gone, and you cannot find it anywhere. So you know that's his trick. This is hawthorn fruit. Hawthorn fruit, have you ever seen that before? Hawthorn fruit is very good for your digestion. But the air is you will have a fishy air in the flowering season. But we still wanted to keep it because the fruit is good to your health. It's narcissus. The flower, it takes water for flowering, and it also takes dormancy for the rest of the year. But we have some narcissus bulbs in the pot and the water every day. The end is the result is it gets the leaves green all the year round, but never get flowers. So you know that what we learn is more is just the same as leg. This is a Canadian goose. He lost his partner and he standing on top of the roof, searching, and lonely. And this is a sad story. This is see the bird nest in the rose bush. The nest there are 4 eggs. The nest get sunshine from east to south and get a little bit shade from the leaves at noon. So the mama bird does not need to stay in the nest only at night. We thought it was abandoned, but finally the baby chicks came out. So it's brilliant. And I wrote it in my book, and this is my illustration. This is a hummingbird. On my farm, we just like normal animals like them. So I saw many hummingbird pictures. They took it from from what is that called? Yeah, very long shoot. But I just took like this. It's nearby me. And I wrote a story about the hummingbird, the cat and the hummingbird. And this is a Chinese goose. He honks for his partner, and he's very beautiful. This is normal. The outside the fence always better than inside. All the animals like that. This is bucking, the billy goats. Baby ducks, and the dog is very curious about it. And we have this is my husband. He likes to train the ducks every day. It's training an hour. Put on the grass, and then they were playing peekaboo. And where are you? This is a baby chick. I fed her almost. I caught flies for him, almost like 100 for a day. So I'm a very knowledge about flies. They know they don't work in the sunshine, and they take a vacation, and they went to Florida when it's cold like that. And we are very close, so he's very nosy. When I take the picture of the iris, he just check my lens. And the flying. And this is all. 2 mama geese, they laying eggs at the same time in the same place. So just and this a peacock chases a rooster. The rooster has his way. Just go around the shed. And farm work. It's sowing. Did you see the seeds? And tilling, digging, plowing, mulching. You have to do delivering, and feeding, and dog following, and got tired. And sometimes, thank you. Sometimes we have to take in a break at the beach and stay away from the farm. The Canada Goose family, Blackbird Symphony, killdeer, yellowbird. I see the clouds. Beard iris. I brought the beard iris there. They are very beautiful, and this is Chinese lantern, apricot. Oh, you have to grow potato in your garden, and having the potato right from the field, and you just get the freshness. You never forget. It's so good. Melons and the giant pumpkin. And now I will introduce you some edible flowers. This is a red bud, and you made a scrambled egg with red bud flowers. Those are tree peony flower, and I made a tree peony flower porridge. That is good, fragrant. Only yellow tree peony flower smells very good. Quince flowers, quince fruit, and I made a quince jam, pork chop with quince jam, pomegranate flour, salad with beets, yogurt, juice, the egg. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Very entertaining. Okay, next we have Bridget Spicer, who is the author of Squid Row, Welcome to the Neighborhood, a daily comic about a starving artist living in a touristy seaside community. Bridget was born to non-cartooning but supportive parents who furnished her talent with crayons, paper, and all manner of creative devices. Supplied with comic books, candy bars, and Star Wars figures, Bridget was a portly but happy cartoonist in the making. Now as a bigger kid, Mrs. Spicer likes to, what she calls, tune stuff, whether for money or for not. Squid Row publishes 6 days a week in the Monterey County Herald and daily online. Bridget?
Thank you, MC Robin. No, Robin. Robbie. Can I call you Robin? Okay, thank you. Well, we've now entered into the cartoonist dog and pony show of the afternoon. The dog has run off, and the whereabouts of the horse are somewhat questionable. This is going to be very organic because I don't have my notes. That's where the dog took off with. But I can wing it. That's what cartoonists do, yeah? Yeah. So, but anyway, thank you. I want to thank the Salinas Library for inviting me to talk with these in the company of such wonderful authors. And suddenly I feel the need to write some sort of graphic novel about Salinas dance studio and crime. I don't know, that seemed really, intriguing. Gosh, I wanted to know more. And you say your books are for sale, yes? Oh yes? No? Is he? Okay. So I am winging it right now. So I've been living in Salinas now for since about 2008, and so I'm a sort of a transplant. I was actually raised in Southern California, and I escaped. How many of you are actually from somewhere else and have moved to Salinas? Okay, about half, a little more than half. Yeah, okay. I've now got my writer's voice, my sexy writer's voice. I don't know what that is. But anyway, my parents, God bless them, they did provide me with a lot of crayons growing up. So I am very thankful for them too. And I also wanted, many of you say that you carry a sketchbook with you, and I have to say, to keep your inspirations in tow, sketchbooks are awesome. And I don't leave, I feel like Linus without his blanket if I don't have my sketchbook, which is why I brought it to the podium, because I'm feeling really kind of, just the safety of my sketchbook. So if I do this, I feel like I'm gabbing. Ooh, you can see my notes there. You can read ahead for all those people who like to read ahead. Oh goodness, there we go, okay. So, yeah, excellent. All right, so this is going to be, thank you. This is going to be a little bit more organic because, like I said, my notes are up there and I'm here. So anyway, getting back to the whole idea and inspiration thing. Like I said, DJ, I'm going to call it DJ Rob said earlier that my parents were non-cartooning parents, and that is in fact the truth. They really didn't hold a whole lot of interest in art, to be quite frank. But one of my favorite authors is Charles Dickens, and he used his early childhood experience with poverty and impoverishment, and it colored all of his body of work. And that will make sense in a few minutes. But I use my inspiration, I draw my inspiration from personal experience, much like Charles Dickens did. So I guess I'll commence into so the whole I'm the oldest of three kids, and like it was explained, I ate a lot of candy bars as a child. We moved around. My dad was in the military. He was a U.S. Marine. That made us mover-arounders. And so, like you, after each novel, you gained 15 pounds, was it? Yeah, that was every time we moved. I think I gained about 15 pounds. But I combated that with drawing, and the eating thing. But in any case, but the military sent us to some rather scenic and exciting places, very exotic, like Barstow. Or as I call it, and my alter ego in the comic strip call it Barfstow. We spent a goodly amount of time there in my early teenage years. So I think as a coping device, I started to draw. But something else it did is it also allowed me to stay indoors in air-conditioned situations, reading Garfield. I discovered Garfield, and I placed myself in kind of an escape mode by reading lots of Garfield and funny things, because in fact my situation was not funny. How many of you have been to Barstow? I mean, honestly, come on, coping device, drawing, cartooning, please. So we did actually escape Barstow after about 4 years too long, and moved to a place with a little less sand and a lot more water. That would be San Diego, or in this slide, Paradise. San Diego, Paradise. So that was a relief. And it's where I graduated from high school. And then upon doing that, I entered my 10-year college plan. Which I did not intend to spend 10 years in college, but there you go. Palomar College was my entrance into the 10-year college plan. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I liked to draw, I liked to write, I couldn't decide between the two. I just took a bunch of classes and wound up on that thing, that revolving door of until I did on vacation, I came up to this area and I discovered, there we go, the University of California at Santa Cruz, and they had an outstanding art department, and that sort of just, I said, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to go to school in a park and draw and paint. And so that's what I did. I went to the University of California. I immediately felt a sense of connection. This is their mascot. Now, I won't say that it had a big influence on me, the mascot, but it really did. Cool mascot. And I said, and also, it's kind of a metaphor, 10 years in college, the whole sliding, you just, making my way. But, metaphor for life. But I did when I graduated from college with my shiny piece of paper that said that I could do artist things. I did what any artist wants and desires to do. I went into retail, specifically in art supplies. I spent a goodly amount of time peddling my other art supply wares at a fine, reputable place up in Santa Cruz. But on the side, I did my freelance cartooning because it wouldn't leave me alone. I did a lot of cartooning on the side. I created logos, T-shirt designs, and was just scraping by doing that. And yes, there I am there. Little did I know that I was actually writing a story. I was actually living the life that I was about to give to my cartoon character. And this is her there. This is Randy Springelmeyer. Randy the name Springelmeyer actually was the name of a high school student, her married name. When she married, she went from Greyheck to Springelmeyer, and it's goofy, it's silly, I love it. I am so using that. So I adopted that as my sort of alter ego artist person. Now, Randy lives in, there she is there. And of course, what happened is when I created this character, when I decided I was going to be a comic strip artist, which is a whole other story I won't bore you with, but she began to take on everything that, kind of these points in my life. Randy has spent a significant time in Barstow. She also graduated from Slug U, or UC Slug. She toils away at her retail job while doing art on the side. It sounds rather familiar, doesn't it? It's like the spiral, which I'm so happy that you mentioned inspiration and where it comes from, because a spiral has the same sort of, it's the same root word, spire, inspire, respiration, breathing in. Anyway, boring side note, sorry. Spiraling, okay, what's that? Randy Springelmeyer. Okay, so I'm going to just go into some examples of Randy and her work. Art imitates life. And I'm sure many of you have heard that before. And pretty much my whole comic strip is an example of art imitating life. Here Randy is, this ran in today's Herald. This is Randy with a bunch of complicated math around her, and she seems to be writing. And of course, Ryan, her best friend, says, it can't be that difficult. It can't be complicated, Randy. It's just balancing a checkbook. Says, artists don't do math, Ryan. I know that's a stereotype that artists don't do math, but it's true. I don't do math. I was a math flunky, and that I was just told today that is calculus. See, I didn't even know that was calculus. I Googled that and said, ooh, I said, formula, complicated math formula, and that popped up. I said, that looks good. I'm going to use that. So, more art imitating life. Here's Randy. I think somebody just plopped a quarter into your coffee cup. Yep, I guess you look like you need a hand. On the other hand, it's non-taxable income. Now you'll notice that that the background there looks a lot like the Monterey Fisherman's Wharf area, and that's not an accident. When I created the comic strip, I was living in the Pacific Grove, Monterey area. So they say draw what you know, because that makes stuff easy, right? I wanted a character that I could easily write for, and what do I know? Well, I know how to be an artist, and I know how to draw, so boom, boom, boom. So also too, there's the Spill. Here, I want to tell you about Spill, and she's the other character in there next to Randy. I have a good friend named Jill, and she goes by the name Spill. So that is not art imitating life, that is art is life. But Spill, I met, she had a gallery at the Carmel Barnyard. And I met her, and we got on real good. And how can you not just cartoon that? I didn't have to come up with anything. She just cartooned herself. So that's Spill there. And this is my character, Spill. And she kind of went with the name, right? You know, Spill. She lives in a fictional Sand Dune City, and Sand Dune City sounds a lot like Sand City, where I briefly lived. Again, draw what you know. Spill is a concrete multimedia artist, and she has a habit of spilling things. Thus the name. Now, another art imitating life sort of thing is I tend to project my own kind of obsession. Oh, that's hard to say with braces. My obsessions. I tend to, I have several obsessions okay, one is a Vespa. I love Vespas. I'm very fascinated by them. And so I took a snap of one. I was on a trip in Paris, and I thought this was really nifty. So art imitating life. Randy delivers coffee on a Vespid, which is what I call a Vespa in the comic strip. And so here she is. It's first thing in the morning. She's out delivering coffee. You can see the rays of sunshine, the beautiful day. She looks like she's half asleep. She works for Joe's Cup of Joe, waking the dead since 2000. And of course, there's just not enough irony there. You know, the dead delivering coffee to the dead in the morning. That's significantly, when I get up in the morning, that last panel, that's me. So just look in the mirror. It's only, well, here she is again early in the morning, and it's only 7? 1 hour? God, speaks like oh, can't read it, but you get the idea there. It seems like I've been at work forever. I swear on cold days, the clock ticks slower. Either that or my watch is frozen. I tend to take a lot of cues from the weather. When my office tends to be kind of cold, I tend to draw cartoons about cold, and there you go. Also, you notice in the middle panel, there's more of kind of like the Cannery Row. I don't refer to Cannery Row in the comic strip as Cannery Row. I call it The Row, and figure that most people can kind of make the jump. Being that Randy works in a retail situation, or has, I decided to, of course, make her work at the Art Box. And so here she is, and Mouse, this is her co-worker, Mouse, and he seems to be a little bit concerned that things aren't moving. But I think it's that our signage isn't very effective. So I find the honesty rather refreshing. Buy this stuff, you know, it's old, and we have to get rid of it somehow. Isn't that what when you go to sales, you go, how long has this been on the shelf? Jesus, I thought paint was supposed to be liquid. Much of my humor comes from you know, cats. I have a cat. This is my cat. That's Mouse. Just to confuse the situation. She is she's a sweetheart, but and like most cats, she likes boxes. And of course, this is the resulting cartoon. Things cats simply cannot resist, and that would be boxes. Somehow they think that you can never quite see them. It's like they're in their box, and it's like suddenly the invisibility cloak, you know, this box is. But you'll notice my homage to Garfield by making Twinkie, that's Twinkie the cat, orange. And you also see the Vespid painting in the background. Can't keep my obsessions a secret. Being that we are in the Steinbeck library, I thought it appropriate that we have some Steinbeck cartoons, and I'll let you. There are mice. There are men. There are men who write about mice. There are men who write about mice and men, and there are mice that could really care less about all of that. Thus, the antidote there. But one of my main characters is Ryan, the fellow with the book there. He is a book enthusiast. He is also a Steinbeck enthusiast, and he is a writer himself. So you can see why he would be upset about the whole, you know, book thing. I don't like The Day After Christmas. I'm not sure there are many people that do. Randy dislikes it very much, and here she is, you know, all of Christmas, you know, make it go away. And here is, she's a little surprised when she shows up to work. This was actually taken from, I don't know if many of you probably remember, this is a news story that Brinton's in Carmel closed suddenly last year. And it was a surprise to the people that worked there. And I kind of took that as my kind of inspiration on that. And it affected Randy greatly. But I do get my cues, many of my cues and my inspirations from actual news stories. And so that was one of them. And then this is continuing with that. And, you know, Mouse tells her that, of course, that better not show up at work because there's no reason to. And rats, I left a Milky Way bar in my Art Box apron. You know, that's chocolate bar. We didn't mention the whole chocolate bar, you know, candy bar thing earlier. Anyway, so that whole storyline, and it was a storyline, it was quite large, resulted from that. And here is my take on the Highway 68 development project. And it is a quote that is much too small for me to read from here, so I will let you read it. But it's a quote from Pastors of Heaven. Again, another Steinbeck reference, and of course, building on the Pastors of Heaven. Just sort of my little editorial, take on the situation. Now, the weather, I said, also plays a part in. We had some really gnarly, windy weather a couple weeks ago, and I was rather taken aback by some of the events. And yeah, that was true. That was not art imitating life. That was truth. So in conclusion, really, and I know I've been going on and on, the inspiration comes from just about anywhere. You just have to look for it. And as my job as a cartoonist is to find inspiration in everyday objects, in everyday inspirations that you find in the news store, and weather, in the laundry basket, and which is where my cat can usually be found. But thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
That was great. Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you.
You're welcome. From DJ Rob, you're welcome. Okay, next we have Ann Ilvasaker. I practiced saying that about 10 times in the mirror before I got here. Ann Ilvasaker is the author of the middle grade novels Button Down, The Luck of the Buttons, Little Klein, and Dear Papa, all from Candlewick Press, as well as an award-winning board book and 19 nonfiction books for young readers. In 2005, Ann was awarded the McKnight Artist Fellowship Loft Award in Children's Literature. She has a master's degree in education. Ann grew up near the Mississippi River in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and until 2006, she spent her adult life just across the river in St. Paul, teaching and writing. After 4 years in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Ann moved to Monterey, California, where she lived with her husband Dan and daughter Maria. As a child, her family drove from their home in Minneapolis, Minnesota to the coast of South Carolina every spring. It was on these trips that her mother would provide her children with notebooks and pencils, encouraging them to write down anything they wish. Another tribute to her family's influence on her writing was the collections of letters from several generations past. The old letters are stories full of humor and pathos and the hardships and joys of family life. Her book, Dear Papa, got its spark from the search of a lost letter that Ann's Aunt Betty had written in her childhood to her father just before he died. Along the way of her education, Ann was fortunate enough to take a class from the late great Judy Delton, author of more than 200 books for young readers and a gifted teacher. Judy saved Ann years of her life by telling her in no uncertain terms what wasn't working in her writing. In one memorable class, Delton fell asleep while Ann was reading. Ann stopped working on that novel immediately, and by the next class, she had started what was to become her first published novel, Dear Papa. Ann's second novel, Little Klein, was finished just as she moved from Minnesota to Iowa, and as she worked on The Luck of the Buttons, Ann, along with her husband and their daughter, moved to Monterey, California, where she is now reveling in some of the same saltwater experiences she wrote about in her childhood travel notebooks. Ann.